Hello, my name is Alexander Gadilia. I am a student in Professional Communication for Business Class, and for the purpose of our final project, I will be analyzing communication styles of Fifth Third Bank. In this presentation, I will point out the differences between internal and external communication styles. One of the main differences between internal and external communication is the audience, that is, the intended reader. It is vital to know details about the audience you are communicating with. There are several aspects to keep in mind while analyzing your audience. It is important to know the knowledge level of the audience regarding the subject. Not knowing this important aspect might cause serious miscommunication. For example, it is not recommended to use technical language in external documents. General public is the intended reader in case of external documents, and using technical language can be confusing. It is also important to know the purpose of the communication. Is it informative, persuasive, instructional, and so on? The level of interest is also important. We have all read some documents that had lengthy, boring introductions, giving no necessary information. This can result in loss of interest, making the entire document a waste. Introduction must be informative and must be able to grab readers' attention. Let's look at some of the examples of internal and external documents. There's a big difference between those two, not only in the information they share, but also in the language they use. In the internal documents, it is okay to have more technical language, some abbreviations used because the employees of the company are required to have enough knowledge about the products of the company to understand this language. Some of the examples of internal documents would be emails shared between employees, memos, reports to shareholders, guidelines, credit brackets, pricing information, and so on. It is also important to remember that some of these internal documents have really sensitive information, and employees must remember not to have this information available for public because it might really hurt the company. As one of the examples of internal communication for my project, I chose weekly sales meeting agenda from Fifth Third Bank, and I found a couple sentences here that do not really use plain English and could be really structured better, and I will read it for you right now. Beyond the documentation you have included, if you are confident that the borrower is willing and able to pay this loan as agreed, this is the screen to convey your confidence and reasoning to the decision. You can see that it's a long sentence, and maybe if you just exclude this sentence and read it by itself, uh, you can understand it. But when there is other information, this kind of long sentences might be hard to analyze and remember, so it's better to use plain English and maybe chop the sentences down to separate sentences. This way, the person receiving the information will remember it better. Another example of internal communication documents I have here is new hiree training handbook, and I found a couple more sentences that could be improved. For example, verify the final all-in price under accountable all-in price is equal to threshold. If the all-in price is over the threshold, reduce the amount of discount points that you charge to the customer. You can see that this sentence uses some words too many times, and that it is kind of annoying and hard to understand what's the information in a sentence. Um, let's look at some of the examples of external documents. External documents are the ones that are available for general public and can be found over the internet or in physical form. Some of the examples of external documents would be mission statements, press release, financial reports, product introduction, and so on. I have a couple examples of Fifth Third's external documents here. One is Legacy of Trust, which is basically the history of Fifth Third, which goes back all the way to uh, end of the 1800s. And they do a good job showing where they come from and where they got originated from, but they are lacking in showing their progress and when they stand today. Another example of Fifth Third's external documents would be their website and the tab which encourages customers to invest in stocks and bonds, where they try to explain what stocks and bonds are and what is the difference between those two. Let's listen. When you buy a bond, you are lending money to an organization, and when you buy a stock, you are purchasing an equity stake of the company. This sentence is of course accurate, but the problem is it's not really explanatory. It's not in a great detail, and I don't think it would encourage anybody to invest in stocks and bonds, and it doesn't really explain the difference between those two. So they could do a better job in being more detailed. Before creating a document, it is important to know if it's for internal or external use. The difference between those two is huge, not only in the language used, but also in the information shared. Because of that, it is important to be prepared, to know the purpose of the document, to know your audience, and the level of knowledge that audience holds.